Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.
This account from the Gospel, I believe, was included for a very apparent and obvious reason. It is so characteristically the experience of many of us. And so the Gospel writers were behooved to make sure that it was included there. So many times we are fraught. We feel like, God, you brought us into the boat. It was by your request. And now the seas have been troubled. Life is not as you would have it to be for us, because how could it possibly be? Things are bad now, Lord. Did you not see that? And what are you doing, God of all things? And it was perfect, because what is God doing? He's asleep. You know, so many times you hear the expression, let's not follow such and such person, he's asleep at the wheel. You know, the worst possible thing is for the commander to be asleep. But in this very moment, in such a very real way, because how many people have never felt, oh Lord, why do you seem to be so cruel when you find that when I'm in such difficult position, you don't speak. In fact, I find you, Lord, asleep. So there were the disciples. And how much courage must it have taken for them to approach, by the way, I should tell you, that maybe things in North America, and especially in our modern times, the difference between the one who leads and the one who follows, the deference shown sometimes isn't always there. But I can tell you that in the Middle East, even now, never mind 2,000 years ago, I assure you that water coming into the boat was really just about to sink them before they thought, let's wake him up. I guarantee you. They waited until one more drop, and this would have been a catastrophe. Because they would not have dared wake up the master. You don't even dare, in the Middle East, even these days, correct someone when they say something wrong. You just sort of nod and say, okay. I know that that's not the way home, but okay, we'll follow that way. But that's so much what it was. He was wanting that one more drop to come in. Because who knows what they would have seen at that moment. Would he have left them? He asks them a strange question, even though it's quite clear we're going underwater, Lord. Like I said, they wouldn't have touched him until that very moment. And then he says to them, could have said anything. If you would have imagined a more realistic scenario, oh, thank God you woke me up. No, he showed that even while absent, seemingly, he was sovereign and needed them to understand this. And so he says, where is your faith? Is it only when it comes at the convenient moments? When we were out for ice cream earlier in the day and I found that extra 5 in my pocket. Then you thought faith is wonderful. But at the moment that you felt that I was absent and asleep, the Lord said to them, where is your faith? As though to say, did you not think that I could take care of this in the way that I would deign? Even if that means the ship should sink. And then what does he do to demonstrate that they should have had faith all along? He rebukes the storm. Can you imagine that scene? Christ holding out his hand and saying, be silent, stop. And then it would just stop. But why did he do that? Was that to say to them, every time there's a storm, I'm going to say stop, and it will? In fact, he was preparing them for what would happen if more water came into that boat. Because for many of those who were in that boat that day, they didn't know it then, but they would soon realize it in the decades to come. They assumed the cross, almost literally. Peter, upside down. Andrew, in an X form. They didn't have the rebuke that they might have thought should always come. But the ship in that moment of their life filled to the top. But they had faith that this is what will bring about my salvation. This is an important lesson for us Christians, for us disciples of Christ. We ought not to sit there and nitpick at how we feel that God is or isn't involved in our life. He is. Be assured. Trust. That is true. He is with you. Even as the water in the boat is climbing, He is with you. Don't let Him need to have to prove to you this. Let us not only be with God when He rebukes the storms, because times He will, and we've seen it in our lives. I don't think a single one of you would be here today if you had not seen the Lord rebuke a storm in your life. He will. But I want to speak to you about the times where He will not. Where then will your faith be at such a moment? I've once, there's a really catchy song that I remember hearing at, CCM, contemporary Christian music. And I think the way that the lyrics go is, I will praise you in the storm. And then I can't remember how the rest goes, honestly. But I sort of felt, is it because it's conditional to that God will end the storm? That's not the way that Orthodox Christians think. That's bad theology. That's not true. That's not true. The very people in that boat saw it got worse. Saw life get much worse. But I guarantee you, like many of their disciples after them, they died saying, "Glory to God for all things." I wish for you all to have such faith, dear brothers and sisters. God is not asleep. Even as He might seem so, He is Lord of that storm. And if the storm should come, and it should take everything, He is Lord of that decision. And that decision, left in His hands, can bring about our salvation. Would Peter, if he could, would Peter have told Nero, "I do not wish to be crucified"? By that point in his life, he didn't. In fact, he had the audacity to say in that storm, "Turn me upside down." Such is the faith that Christ was speaking to him and could see his whole life right in front of him. I see you, Peter, and today you're afraid. But there will come a time where you will actually ask for even greater, to prove that there is no fear, to prove that I am Lord of even death. You will ask to be put upside down. Let us live with such intrepidation. And this isn't just, by the way, summoned by you resolving it. It happens through an ongoing movement into the life of Christ. As we take seriously our walk as Orthodox Christians, to pray more, to fast in more earnest, to bite our tongue, have a fast over that, and then to deepen ourselves in the sacramental life of the church. All of these things add to us, so that on the day of the storm, we will not say, "Where were you, Lord?" But rather we will say to those parts of the storm, "You may be bigger than me, but you are not bigger than my Lord. Therefore, have me flipped over. Turn me upside down. My God lives, and Christ is risen. Glory be to God forever."